Can you feel the AGI? If you are familiar with AI Twitter, then that's a common phrase that you might hear where people, whenever there's a significant advancement in how AI is impacting work or day-to-day life, they use the phrase, can you feel the AGI? And in this video, I want to talk about how I'm using the agentic browser Comet along with the general agent Flowith in order to automate the process of putting together weekly newsletters. And so this is something that at the beginning of this year, I was doing manually, and I actually projected that by this point in the year, it would be something that AI could probably do. And it's been incredible watching Comet. Dia is also a really great browser, but Comet especially, how it's able to navigate to these different sites, follow directions, create shortcuts so that a repetitive task can be done again in the future. And I know that Perplexity is only going to continue to improve this browser. And so just to get right into it, each week on a day-to-day basis, I put together different news items, product launches, anything that catches my attention in the AI and emerging tech space. And this is a way of being able to just keep abreast and stay up to date with everything that's going on in regard to AI. So I'm always very, very aware of the new releases, the tea that may be happening in the space, and I'm always early to using any new tools and products that are out. A lot of the sources are from Twitter. I spend a lot of time scrolling on Twitter, and I include mostly AI agent related items, and sometimes we'll put in crypto and DeFi related items as well. Now, what we used to do, so one of my business partners was actually tasked with putting together these newsletters, and he'd go through each of these different files, which are links to usually tweets or a news item, and he'd go through the process of putting the newsletter together. But what happens now is, and I'm going to use July as an example, and this is something that can be very helpful if you have a newsletter you're putting together or you have another kind of content type task that you're working on. This can be very helpful because one of the challenges has been the presentation of it. And with the tools that exist today, you're able to both automate the process of putting together these kinds of deliverables while also making it a quality aesthetic. And so to demonstrate what it looked like for July, I could copy all of these links, paste it into Perplexity Comet here in the assistant, and then I can write in a prompt. So in this prompt, I've put here, visit each of, I'm going to say, the links above and turn them into a comprehensive summary of the topic. There should be a header followed by a 4 to 6 sentence paragraph for each topic. Each topic should have a space in between, so there's a clear delineation between each topic. Paste the results on the Google Doc. Do not ask me for my input. Complete the whole task. And then what I'll do is after this sentence here, I'm going to put below each paragraph, paste the link to the associated topic. So I know it sounds a little bit redundant in the communication of it, but it's really just to make sure that it completes the task correctly. And then I'm going to open up this Google Doc here, and I'm going to then click enter. And so you'll see how it goes about it. So it will go through each of the different links, and you'll see how it actually previews the sources. It's going onto each page. It'll show you the sources it's using, and as it goes through it, it'll then actually take over the browser and start writing in the responses that I prompted for. So I prompted for it to write 4 to 6 sentence summaries for each of the topics at hand. I think what's really great about Perplexity Comet also is the language that it uses is not generic in the same way that ChatGPT, when used directly, typically gives you. You know, when you use ChatGPT, a lot of the times, like, it'll repeat a lot of the same words, a lot of the same phrases, groundbreaking, dive in. There's certain phrases, even certain figures of speech that become very redundant with ChatGPT, and then you have to start actually including in your prompts ways to make sure that it's not just so the same. I've noticed that with Perplexity, the language in general tends to be better, and you can also actually change the model that is being used when going through these different queries. So we see here, it's analyzing each of the different sources. I think it's probably about 20 or 30 of them for July. So it looks like I said here, I'm currently unable to access additional browser-based content due to a temporary browser limitation. However, here's a detailed summary. So I believe that, for some reason, the internet cut off. I'm going to put continue. So I believe that because I'm recording right now for this, the browser may not be working, because this has actually happened in the past, where when I'm recording, the browser stops working. And so it's rather than pasting it on the Google Doc, it's pasting it within the browser. And then I could always copy and paste it from the browser. I'm just going to click on continue here. But typically what you would see is that what it's pasting in the assistant area, it would actually be pasting on the Google Doc here. But that's okay. And you'll see what we do for the next step with getting the visuals and how we ultimately present everything. So these are all the articles that were a part of the items for the week. All right, if you finished with links, if not, continue. If so, paste onto the Google Doc. All right, so it looks like it can use the browser, but it's asked me to copy and paste everything from the previous examples. So I'm just gonna scroll all the way up. I'm just gonna do it in one swoop. Let's see. All right, so it's taken over my browser now. It is reasoning. So it's thinking about what steps to take next, and if it's working, it should begin pasting it onto the Google Doc. And you can actually see it reasoning through each of the steps. I can see a Google Docs document titled Newsletter is open. I'll click in the document area and paste the content you provided, preserving the paragraph structure and spacing. I can see the cursor is positioned in the document. Now I'll type the content you provided, preserving all the paragraph breaks and spacing, and we'll see what it does next. For some reason it's not working. I'm going to say try again. All right, so it looks like it's not going to work here. I think it has to do with the fact that I'm recording this video, and it's tampering with the ability for the browser to do what it needs to. And so I'm actually just going to move on to the next step. We can copy and paste all the information. All right, so I'm going to take all of this over to FlowWith. So FlowWith is another general agent. FlowWith has a track record of being able to work for 8+ hours. It'll keep going until it is complete, or you run out of credits. So with FlowWith, what we're going to do is we're going to paste everything in, and we're going to say that we're looking to identify visuals to go along with each of the topics for our newsletter. Please identify a visual relevant to a topic. Here's the newsletter material. Now notice, I guess because we're pasting in the assistant, and we're copying and pasting, we're getting like multiples of I guess we can delete some of these right here. Rather than going through all 20, I'm just going to leave it like this, and it should pick up the fact that it's the same for each. And so with this FlowWith general agent, it has all these different functions. So it has agent mode that you can toggle on or off. And then this agent mode includes the ability to use a browser, search social media, look up images, and do different things. You can also include a knowledge base here that it can draw from. And so this agent, I'm going to click enter here. This agent is very similar to a Manus, very similar to a GenSpark and these other general agents. But again, what I really like is the fact that it can run for long periods of time. It doesn't require so many credits, and it's really good at identifying images, which is what I've liked the most. All right, so it'll start creating these branches, and then it'll branch off into even more branches, and ultimately at the very end of it, it should have different images to provide for you. And so this takes care of the writing with regard to what we used Comet for. This takes care of the visuals, and then we can put it all together at the end. And so yes, it's not happening without any human intervention. Again, Comet is typically a better experience when you are if I weren't recording, I probably would have posted it on the Google Doc, and then we would have taken that and pasted it in here. And then at that point, we could begin transferring it to the newsletter platform. So we'll see what FlowWith comes up with. All right, so you see what it's doing. It's gathering all the images here, and it's creating more and more branches. And then what it'll do at the very end is it'll post it all on a web page, and actually do the newsletter as a site, basically. And then at that point, you can take the images along with the writing and do what you will with it. In this case, paste it all onto the newsletter page. To see all the images that it came up. Should be almost done now. All right, so the agent, and they call him Agent Neo, finished the task. If I click on here, I should be able to open it up. Let's see over here. So if I could click edit in full screen. So it actually went ahead and created the newsletter for me. And it has all the sources that I use, which is great. However, it's in the form of a web page, and it's something that I'm going to be pasting onto a newsletter platform. So that's why I then, just to talk about the steps I take from here, I typically have it on a Google Doc, but I can now copy and paste it from here. Copy and paste the wording from here. The images won't directly copy and paste, so I'll take screenshots of them, but I have it all organized in one place and literally able to put together these like really solid newsletters with images that are quality. So that is the workflow. My newsletter workflow using Comet and FlowWith. Unfortunately, couldn't get the full Comet experience, but you get the gist of it. Just to add, with Comet, when you run a workflow, at the end you can actually click on, if it's something that's repetitive, at the end you can actually click slash, and then you can create a shortcut so that whenever you want to run that particular prompt, all you have to do is just enter that shortcut. So that is it. Newsletter workflow, newsletter agentic process, if you will. We'll see. We'll see what happens next. How Perplexity continues to upgrade its browser, and what other kind of productive and effective systems these agents are able to help in creating.